Attention Caribbean authors and creators. Are you looking to elevate your literary journey? This is Kevin George, your host and presenter from TLC Tropical Literature Creatives, and I'm thrilled to share an exciting opportunity with you, introducing our bespoke promotional services designed exclusively for authors of Caribbean heritage. Whether you're a seasoned professional or a rising star, we're here to amplify your voice. From getting the word out about your book launch, your self-publishing services, or workshops, to sharing services that you offer to fellow authors and creatives. Visit our website or reach out to us today to explore how we can tailor our expertise to showcase your literary brilliance. Let's unlock the next chapter of success together. Greetings, listenership. Welcome to TLC Tropical Literature Creatives, the podcast where we interview authors of Caribbean heritage about themselves and about their literary works. Today we have with us the daring Dean Chambers, author of the book Don't Be a Waste Youth. Dean, welcome to Tropical Literature Creatives.
Thank you. Thank you for the humble introduction. Really appreciate you bringing me onto your podcast.
Well, I mean, the introduction just seems fitting because as I started to go into your book, I realized that, with your background, you gave of yourself in the book, even though it was a book about financial literacy, etc.
Yeah.
Understanding your background a bit, let me not talk about it. You'll get the opportunity to tell us about about the book in detail. But for now, we're glad that you agreed to be interviewed.
Mhm.
Before we get into anything, which Caribbean island are you associated with?
Jamaica.
Okay. I like to give persons this scenario. Imagine, we encounter each other at the airport. I'm coming to
Yeah.
Jamaica for the first time, and you're from Jamaica, so you have roots there. What would you recommend that I try? What place that you would recommend that I visit? What food, anything that you would recommend that I try when I visit Jamaica?
When you visit Jamaica, actually I'm from Canada, but my parents are Jamaican. But if you do visit Jamaica, you wanna go to the beaches. That's one of the first places you want to go. So Montego Bay has
Mm.
nice beaches. Also, Negril is very nice. And you want to try the national dish, which is ackee. Ackee and saltfish, it's one of the top dishes that people love when they go there. They just can't get enough of it.
Oh, all right, guys, you heard it from Dean himself. If we're going to try some beaches, Montego Bay, and some ackee as well.
Yeah.
All right, so can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Uh, well, the book came about because I felt it's like the information in there is about money. And money is not something that they teach us in school across the globe. So for me, being in Canada, growing up, a lot of challenges either my friends or family had associated with money. So the older I got and the more I learned about these things, which I thought was common sense, wasn't common sense. So I said to myself, you know what? How do I get this message out to the masses? And lo and behold, I had a friend, he wrote a book, and I was like, how'd you write a book? And he gave me his process. But when he told me, I didn't really act at that time. It wasn't until I seen something on Instagram that kind of made it easier for me to actually get my thoughts on paper, which I'll speak about later. But with that being said, the pandemic hit. I had a lot of free time on my hands, so I said, you know what, now it's time to put pen to paper and get rolling with this idea. So that's how the book came about.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. I mean, the pandemic, how it affected all of us differently. It was a very unfortunate time for a lot of persons, but at the same time,
Mhm.
we were able to look and just get an opportunity to get a lot of things done that we were not able
Yeah,
to get done before.
most definitely.
Thanks for giving us some background about the book there. Are you a full-time author or do you do other things in the meantime?
I wouldn't call myself a full-time author. I do other things. So I have several businesses that I run. But beginning of last year, I started doing coaching. So now I pretty much teach people how to build their wealth from the ground up. And it starts with managing your money, making your money, then multiplying your money.
I like how you do that, how it is that you're training other persons, because I think that's the best way that you learn. When it is that
Yeah.
you skills that you have to train other persons, you learn and you become
Mhm.
more competent yourself.
Yeah, most definitely.
So I guess you're winning all around.
Thank you.
But that being the case, your book, is it a self-published book or did you get it published using traditional methods?
I looked about publishing the traditional way, and I said, whenever I come to a roadblock, I don't let that stop me from getting what it is that I want done. So I said, you know what, if I can't, because when I looked up the publishers, it's a lot of money. And it kind of just deters people. It's like 10,000 plus dollars. I was like, who has that type of money? I don't have that. So I said to myself, how do I get this book out? So with us having the technology, to look up these things, I said, okay, how do I publish my own book? And lo and behold, I found out how to do it myself from getting what's it called? Not the copyright, but getting it
ISBN.
yes, ISBN, the barcode, all that stuff. I learned all that stuff on my own, and then I just published the book myself.
Yeah, you have several businesses and you're teaching persons, so you're no stranger to doing your research and applying what it is that you know. Uh, In
Yeah.
ter- in terms of the self-publishing process, was it a difficult process or was it like another walk in the park for you as you're accustomed, doing research, learning and applying?
Honestly, it was easier than I thought it was. Yeah.
I mean, is it that you see yourself probably coaching other persons to write their own books as well? I mean, you're doing so many other things in terms of coaching and businesses, etc.
Yeah. I have put thought into it, just working out a step-by-step process just to walk people through where it's as easy as it was for me. So I have been putting some thought into it. Probably it'll be something that would be offered later on this year, next year. I'm not sure yet.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. I mean, as you said, it sounds like you're a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
This is one of the books that you would have authored. Do you have intentions of pushing out any other books in the near future?
So I have several other books. I have digital versions that can be found on my website. So that's the wealthbuildersacademy.com. And I wrote a beginner's guide to entering in the stock market in Canada and some other countries. We have an app called Turo. It's like a peer-to-peer car sharing app. So I have that book as well. I just released an activity book for adults. It pairs with like Don't Be a Waste Youth. So it's more of actions versus you having to actually read the theory of the stuff that I have in the financial literacy book. So that's more of an action-based book. And I forgetting. Oh, I also wrote a kids book teaching them the basics about financial literacy with my daughter.
One of the terms that you wrote using the book was a waste youth, a person, who doesn't capitalize on time or opportunity, etc. And I'm seeing that you're quite the opposite of that. You're writing, you're offering courses. And so,
Yeah.
anything but a waste youth, sir. Anything but.
Well, I it's just I see too many people, especially in the Black community, Caribbean community. We're just doing too much of the opposite things. Like we have so much potential within ourselves. It's like channel that energy into something positive. And the one thing that usually stops them is the lack of knowledge. But if you give them the knowledge, we are like the most powerful culture out there.
I like that. I like that. Um, in terms of your writing, I mean, your background is really in finances, and you said that you had to think about process, etc. Was writing difficult for you to sit down, putting pen to paper, etc.? Was it a challenge, or was it something that you were fairly comfortable in doing?
It was super challenging for me to write because, as I said, my friend wrote a book. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna write a book too. And I never did it. And the thing that stopped me is because I grew up dyslexic. So it was hard for me to read and write. And funny enough, when I was younger, I used to draw like picture books and get them like laminated and bring them home. I don't know where those books are now, but I used to draw pictures. But in terms of like writing the actual story to it, I didn't really write too much. But I never really liked reading. I didn't like writing stuff, but I had all these ideas. So I was like, how do I get this stuff out of my head? So lo and behold, thankfully we have the internet. So I was on Instagram one day, and this guy was talking about how he wrote his book and a strategy he used. He said instead of trying to write it down, which is one of the hardest things for people to do, he's like, just have a conversation with somebody. And because when you're having a conversation with somebody, you just spew out the mouth, like you just don't stop, right? So I said, you know what, let me write down everything that I know about financial literacy and have conversations with people. So I reached out to my cousin, and then somebody else reached out to me because they want to purchase a house. And I said, okay, I'm going to try something out with you guys. And I walked through it A to Z with them, everything that they need to know. I took that information, I had the recording, I transcribed it, I found an editor on Fiverr.com. No, not Fiverr, Upwork. And I let her do all the hard work. I said, this is my ideas, this is what I want. And she put everything together for me. As I said, there's always a process. It's like when you come to a fork in a road, a roadblock, you got to figure out how do you get past that, right? Do you go jump over it, walk around it, or go through it? So that's literally what I did, and that's how I got the book published.
Yeah, and Dean, I think I think finding solutions is a superpower because I'm thinking a lot of persons would have just stopped at the roadblock and were wondering exactly how to go, where to go, or just like discarded the idea altogether. But I like your approach. You found, you got a recording, pass it on to someone, and you said let you outsource that. So yeah,
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
In terms of your book, how has the reception been?
People love it, from the youth to adults. Like, some adults, they're fighting with their youth for the book. They're like, where's my book? And they're like, oh, I took it, I needed it, or whatever. It's like, it's a fight in some households, right? But from the kids up to adults, everybody loves it, because adults say, this is a book that I never had, and I wish I had this growing up. For kids, it's a very simple book. It's something that you can put in your back pocket. It's not a lot of pages. And I kept them in mind when writing this book, because I didn't like reading books. And for a lot of people, whenever they always look at the thickness of the book instead of what's in the book. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to play to that and keep it just sweet to the point. So now there's no excuses not to read this book.
I'm hearing you talking, and I'm thinking that there's a lot of thought that you put into a lot of the processes that you adopt. I don't think that there's any person who I spoke with so far who would actually look at the thickness of a book and think of how that would appeal to the person who is reading the book. And what you're saying is sensible, because sometimes I would do the same thing. I would look at a book and think to myself, man, that's a lot. I mean, sometimes I would get into it and I would just, get lost in the story, etc. But sometimes my first
Yeah.
thought is, man, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Even down to the color of the book, the size of the book, like all these things you got to take into consideration for how the end consumer is going to consume your product.
It seems that you're really involved in a lot of activities, like you said, multiple businesses,
Mm.
courses, mentoring, etc. Do you find time to mentor other persons, young persons? Or
Yeah.
Mm.
So me and my partner that co-wrote the book, we do workshops about once a month with an organization, a nonprofit organization, helping youth find jobs. So we come in and we run a money management program. And back in Canada, we also got approved by the largest school board in Canada, which is the Toronto School Board District. We're on the approved list where we can now go into the schools and teach the youth about financial literacy. We
I,
lost for words.
I'm at a loss for words, man. I'm going with pride because I read the book, at least, and I told you about it, what my concerns, what I really liked about it, etc. And again, I'm
Yeah.
not spoiling it. Persons, go read the book.
Yeah.
So when it is I read the book and you're telling me these things, I can't help
Mhm.
but be a little bit excited. I'm beaming with pride because of how the book started, and you're telling me about what's happening right now. So, yeah, I'm really glad to hear about your progress and your accomplishments and, the momentum that you have right now with this project.
Thank you.
How do you feel about your book being adopted in that form to help persons that when it is that they go through these things, they're
Mhm.
better off, by ingesting what it is that was put into it?
With the book, we made it very simple for people to understand the concepts, the wording. Sorry, the concepts, the wording. We made it so simple that a 10-year-old can understand. Because my partner, his daughter is 10 years old, and she was able to read it front to back, no issues, right? So we made it very easy for youth to pick it up and be like, oh, okay, I understand this concept. And we use everyday things that especially kids know, right? Like, for example, giving people a bit of a gem here. Some people say, oh, the stock market's too scary. I don't understand it. I don't know how it works. But if you can I heard this from somebody. I forget. I heard it from somebody, but you heard it from like a physicist. It's like if you take the same, or if you have the same principle and put it into a different environment, the results will still be the same. So, for example, the stock market, you buy low, sell high. That's pretty much the whole game, right? Of making money in the stock market. A lot of these kids, they know about shoes. They know about Nikes, Yeezys, all these different types of shoes and how much they cost, how much they can resell them for. It's the exact same way the stock market works. So if you buy a Jordan shoe, say Jordan 1s, everybody know that's like one of the popular ones. So if you buy something that's very rare and you get it, let's say at a retail for like $200, but you know on the second hand market you can sell it for $400. You would buy that shoe, buy as many as you can, and then resell it to people, right? Stock market works the same way. The only difference is it's businesses you're doing at that point, and you use a different platform. So concepts like that, I break it down in that sense for people to. It's easy for people to digest. Like it doesn't go over your head. Very simple to understand.
Yeah, and I like that you use something that persons know to teach them something that they don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, keeping it simple.
Yep.
I mean, you describe your writing process about how it was a challenge for you, and you know the workaround that you had applied to getting your book done. If it is
Hmm.
that, if there's anyone who is listening to this program right now who um, are having similar challenges like yourself and who would want to get, you know, their book written and they may not have I do, and I use this term very loosely and I might get into problems for saying it, the luxury of COVID, where it is that you have to stay inside and you can't go outside to get things done. Another question that I have for you is, in terms of persons who may be listening to this podcast and who may want to be writers as well, what advice would you give to them?
My advice to them is stop thinking and get writing. Actions speak louder than words. The more you think about it, the less inclined you are to get it done. You're gonna start having these negative thoughts. Oh, I can't do it. I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. You got to do what it is that you want to do today. So if you only have a title, use that as your guide. One, it's better to do 1% each day than try to do everything in one shot. So if you create an outline, that's good enough. At least you made some progress towards you getting this book or getting your thoughts on paper. Then you just work chapter to chapter. By the time you know it, couple days, couple weeks, maybe couple months, you have a full book. Most people, they always just have that idea and it just sits in their head for years upon years and it never comes out.
Well said. My other question, I think it's really interesting coming from a person like yourself. And what I mean by that is, during the interview, you said that you had difficulty learning. I believe that you were dyslexic, if that's the
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, you indicated that you were dyslexic. What advice would you give for parents who are trying to encourage their children to read more?
Find what they're interested in. For me, growing up, I didn't read too much. Like at first, I took an interest into comic books. I didn't have to read much because I could see all the pictures, right? And it was funny. I got into grade 5, and there was a book series called Goosebumps. I don't know why, but I just started like I heard one of the stories. I was like, oh, I like this, and there was another guy in my class. It became a competition between the two of us who could get the most goosebumps and finish these books. So that's how I kind of started getting into reading. But I didn't really read too much after that. It wasn't until I got into like maybe my late or mid, not even mid. Yeah, I would say maybe early 30s. I started actually reading books, like where I was like, oh my goodness, like why didn't I start doing this sooner? That's when I really started taking an interest into reading.
Okay, okay. I mean, there are a number of parents who might be listening to this right now who might be, you know, at the edge of their seats, you know, listening to what you're saying right now. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, your accomplishments seem to be innumerable from what it is that you have described so far, and with 2024 is just starting. What's
Mhm.
next for Dean? What's next for Dean Chambers?
For me, the coaching, building a community of like-minded people that are looking to build wealth. And when I say build wealth, not so much on the monetary scale, but in terms of gaining back their time. Far too often, people are trading their time for money. Money is infinite. If you need more money, you can go get more money, but time you can never get back. So helping people maximize their time with their loved ones, what it is that they want to do, and just living that abundant life that they desire.
If persons wanted to get copies of your books, where can we do so?
If you're in Canada, in the US, I would recommend using my website, which is the wealthbuildersacademy.com international. You can use Amazon and you can find my books on there.
All right. Great stuff. Great stuff. All right, Dean, that pretty much brings us to the end of our interview at this time. Thank you very much for availing yourself. And with all the projects that you have that are coming in 2024, I look forward to hearing more about it.
Sounds good. And I thank you for having me on your show today, Kevin. Really appreciate you.
Hey, I think we're the ones who benefited from you being the guest today.
I hear you, man.
Okay, well, all the best, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your progress. You take care, Dean.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.